Welcome back. We're going to be looking at how you would deal with somebody choking. Some of the people you support may have difficulty swallowing, they may have a tendency to choke on food, and one of the things we need to avoid doing is automatically just giving them a drink of water. That might be something you do for yourself. You know if it's working, but if you administer water and it goes wrong, you can actually make it worse. So again, making sure you avoid any situations which are going to be unsafe for yourself. But if you know it's safe, approaching from the front, you're trying to get a response out of Annie. So you'd ask the question, Annie, are you choking, Annie? Okay, so obviously their name's not Annie, you wouldn't use to call them Annie. But ultimately, you would just get to where they are, get them to stand up. If they're in a wheelchair, however, you may need to kneel down beside them. You may need to get down beside and lean them forward, okay? But hopefully they can stand up. The good thing about them standing up, and I'm just about to do it, is that their diaphragm would actually move and put some air into the lungs and possibly force anything that's blocked in there. So we're going to get Annie to stand up, and then we'd ask Annie to lean forward, and we're going to say, can you cough for me please, Annie? So Annie's she's coughed but nothing's come out. So what we do, we would need to give their back a little slap. But in order to do this effectively, you don't want to give them too much notice on this. So what you say, Annie, I'm just going to give your back a slap after 3. You ready? 1. Now, what did I do? Well, essentially I surprised her. You need to make sure that you're not getting them to tense up, because the natural instinct is to tense up. If somebody says they're going to hit you after 3, you're getting ready for 3. If you hit them earlier, then it might be that it's come out. So check them out. Make sure that you ask them to cough periodically throughout this time. You don't need to surprise them anymore, so you're just going to give your back another slap. You ready? In between the shoulder blades like that. Now, some of you might be thinking, goodness gracious me, that's a very hard way to hit somebody. But it's much better to hit them hard once or twice rather than just sort of give them a tap. You're not winding a baby, okay? So in between the shoulder blades, hit them again. You're using this part of your hand. You're not using your fingers. So that's 3 we've done, I think, if my count is right. So we'll go on to 4. Can you cough again for me, please? You may need to ask them, what were you eating? Just say chicken, hit them the 5th time. Obviously, it might not be chicken they're eating, but you need to make sure that what is in there has come out. Periodically check the mouth. No, okay, don't put your fingers in the mouth, because ultimately they could bite down on your fingers. So that's not worked. So the next option is this one. This used to be called the Heimlich maneuver, but the Heimlich Foundation in California dictated that they couldn't use it anymore because people were suing them in America through American litigation. So we need to call it abdominal thrusts. So we put our fist like this, with a little upturned knuckle, just underneath the breastbone, the sternum, on top of the tummy, soft part of the tummy, your stronger hand on top, put your elbows out, and make sure that if you come up to my face, make sure that your chin is over their shoulders here, okay? Don't be back here, okay? So make sure you've got space here for you to bring the person towards you. Then you ask them to cough. Just as they ask them to cough, you go, and it's in and up. Release, okay? Again, you say, what are you eating? Just say chicken and release, okay? You do that 5 times. 3, come on, we're going to get this. Can you cough again for me, please? That's it, come on. One last time, cough again for me, please. Right, we go. So a combination of them coughing or trying to respond to a question might just use their vocal cords as well to release it. If it's not come up at this stage, then we're phoning for an ambulance. Okay, remember we're phoning 999, 112, or we're phoning the American one, 911. At this stage, we're maybe getting a bit concerned. You might try to go back to back slaps again, and you're doing that 5 times, another 5 of the abdominal thrusts like that, and ultimately they may go to the floor. So Annie crashes to the floor. Okay, we're doing this in slow motion, but it might be that she hits the floor with some purpose. And it might just dislodge. So as soon as somebody goes to the ground, it might not actually be the worst thing. And I'll tell you why. Because they're not panicking anymore. If any of you ever choked on food yourself, you're panicking, your eyes are watering, oh my goodness me, you're gasping for breath. But as soon as you go unconscious, you're not panicking anymore. and you're relaxing. So even the muscles in the throat for swallowing, etc., will actually release. So check their mouth. You might need to put them onto their side and just tap their back and let gravity take it out. Okay, let gravity take it out. One thing you shouldn't do is actually do the rescue breaths if this blockage is still in here, if they stop breathing, but you can still do the chest compressions. Okay. If it so happens that somebody's lying on a bed, you have to get them to sit up if they can. If somebody, maybe you've got a profiling bed, you can bring the back of the profiling bed up. If they're in a wheelchair, you might need to get the sides of the wheelchair or the back of the wheelchair down. So make sure you're doing the right thing there. Okay. So the thing, just a wee bit of information for you, if you had a baby, because a lot of us are working from home just now, so it might be that some of the small children, etc., etc. The technique for a baby, the technique for a child is the same as an adult, but the breasts come, you need to give them a wee bit less of a slap, okay, on the back. But for a baby, and I'm just going to sit down in the chair here because it's easier to do this sitting down. Sit down, and you can just make sure that you're leaning forward, gravity, and get your finger underneath the baby's chin, sorry. And then we go tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap, boom. And then turn them round that way. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you keep on doing that until it's out. Just going to step aside, Sasha, as well for a minute. Just going to come up. I'm just going to show you this. A lot of people might talk about swallowing their tongue. Okay, if somebody swallowed their tongue. You'll see here, this is the white bit here is the tongue. It's a muscle. When somebody relaxes, if their chin is on their chest because they're unconscious, that might block over the airway. Maybe in a sporting situation or somebody choked on food. Simply by putting the head tilt chin lift, it can be that will release that stuck tongue and move it forward and the airway is open. So remember, it's important to have the head tilt chin lift whenever we're dealing with anybody who's choking. Remember, you can give them water at this stage once the actual blockage is out to relieve the pressure. If you ever had to do any chest compressions, abdominal thrust, should I say, on a casualty, they must get medical attention because you could have done some internal damage. Going back to CPR, they must get medical attention anyway because you could have damaged any ribs or anything like that. So that now completes this session with regards to choking, and we'll see you in the next session. Many thanks.